The Counter-Reformation. The Roman Catholic Church responded to the Reformation and internal pressures for renewal of practices and political action by the clergy with its own confession and its council, held in Trent, convened in 1545 and 1563, Counter-Reformation movement. In 1545, Pope Paul III became the first pope of the Counter-Reformation. The Council of Trent reaffirmed its doctrine and established a set of defensive and offensive measures in the face of the growth and influence of Protestant heresies. In order to prevent contamination of countries not yet affected by the Reformation, the Council established the Index Librorum Prohibitorum, a list of works that Catholics were forbidden to read under penalty of excommunication from the Church. The Tribunal of the Holy Inquisition was also established to suppress heresy, just a different name for Inquisition. It also created the Catechism to guide the faithful in seminaries to train future priests. In addition, with a view to regaining lost ground, catechesis was instituted. Despite this, the ground lost was already lost, and the Council of Trent did nothing to bring Protestants back to the Catholic Church. In 1534, the Society of Jesus, the Jesuit order, was founded, and with it an important vehicle for the spread of Catholicism, especially in Latin America. But in Europe, the unfavorable situation remained the same. Thus, the 100 years from 1545 to 1648 were turbulent, during which religious wars between Catholics and Protestants were fought violently. Charles V declared a war to disarm heresy. On August 24, 1572, the King of France ordered the massacre of the Calvinists, the Huguenots, as already seen, and Protestantism was banned from the country. More than 18,000 were massacred in Holland by the Spanish Inquisition. In 1618, the Peace of Augsburg was broken and armed struggle broke out again. But the Swedish King Adolf II, 1594-1632, took the initiative and saved Germany and Protestantism. Finally, after 1648, the wars declined. The Peace of Westphalia restored Germany's hegemony, which was also extended to the Calvinists. According to its terms, the religion of each province would be determined by its principal ruler. Despite everything we have said about the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and humanism, the modern era in Europe would still be marked by an enormous fear of the devil. Even after the French Revolution in 1789, which brought an end to the modern age and finally separated church and state, in the 18th and 19th centuries, Satan continued to feel at ease because, after all, as we have seen, he had always been present in the lives of Christians. After all, as the saying goes, where there is a church, there is a devil. As we have already said, people did not stop being Christians. The Catholic Church still had the strength to see something demonic in scientific knowledge, but outside the religious circle, its image began to undergo radical change. At this time, the French revolutionaries had the same sense of novelty once experienced by the Italians in the 16th century. So much so that they named the social system they had just destroyed the ancient regime. The Italians of the 16th century were Renaissance men, while only the French of the 18th century were revolutionaries. Until the 19th century, Europe was convulsed by a veritable age of revolutions. Romanticism, a movement that revolutionized the arts from the end of the 19th century onwards and preached subjectivity in rebellion against Catholic authoritarianism, transformed Satan into a symbol of the free spirit, progress, and revolt against medieval obscurantism. The ally of man condemned by Christian morality to suffering, a doctrine very similar to that found in the modern brotherhood. Romanticism, despite its name, was a somewhat blue movement, so to speak, since melancholy and a certain pessimism about life were at the heart of the entire movement. The devil entered the 20th century with the image we have of him today as a less influential character, despite continuing to inspire fear, albeit in a veiled form. No one likes to admit it, and secular man does not waste much time on it. But Satan's mythological attributes are stable, and his popularity is growing, with the proliferation of sects that revere him. Even so, the partial loss of the panic and respect he once commanded is not a good sign for some social scholars. This is a dangerous situation, because it means that the modern world is losing its sense of evil. And without a sense of evil, and without fear of evil, civilization can disintegrate and go, no pun intended, straight to hell. Jeffrey Russell, professor of history of religion at the University of California. But then, is Satan, weakened by the rationalism of modern life, retired? Do we need him to come back and inspire respect and fear again so that we don't fall into the extreme of thinking that everything is permissible, that there are no absolute truths, that life was given to us to be lived and we must be happy at any price? Ultimately, is man here to enjoy life in total freedom, in every way, without worrying all the time about whether or not he is going to hell? Not quite. History admits it. The devil is alive. And he challenges those who thought there was no longer any place for him in a world ruled by science and the belief that man is above superstition, above the beliefs in good, God, and evil, Satan. However, as we said at the beginning of this study, much more because of the human need to experience the supernatural, judging by the daily life of modern man, Satan remains active in politics and religion, in the global economy, in market disputes, in the conflicts in the Middle East between Jews, Christians, and Muslims, and between European Protestants and Catholics, and between North Americans and Islamic fundamentalists, in discrimination against minorities, in the criminal who claims he only committed the crime because he was possessed by the devil, in children and teenagers who kill their schoolmates in cold blood, or even closer to home, children who kill their parents or vice versa. In all these places, as historians affirm, he is present, personifying the opponent, freeing man from the guilt of carrying a portion of evil in his own heart, throwing upon him the responsibility for all situations that displease us. In all these planes, and in many others, the devil remains unbeatable, remember. This is still a historical study involving scholars of society and the human race.